Welcome back to Athletic Everyday, day number 117. I've got an upper body workout for you today. Today I was supposed to be doing, I did split jerks supersetted with front lever. In fact, they weren't even really supposed to be supersetted, but I was kind of pressed on time this morning. I had to run to go to a session with my therapist around 10 o'clock, and I was doing this workout starting at like 8:30. So I really had to kind of cram a lot of it in order to be able to get everything sorted and go about the rest of my day. And got a shift later at work. These split jerks weren't feeling too great. I felt kind of sluggish, and it also kind of felt like I was, when I dipped into when I did the dip before the drive, I felt like I was coming forward onto my toes a little bit. And you'll see that on a couple of these attempts later on. You'll see me sort of shifting onto my toes a little bit. And as a result, I'm sort of off balance forward when I'm doing the jerk, and I'm sort of trying to catch up with that. And I think partially the reason is also when I'm fatigued, when I feel like my central nervous system is kind of fried, which it not completely is, but I'm definitely fatigued after the jumps and the sprints yesterday. I feel like weights obviously feel heavier, and therefore I will be more likely to shift into those compensatory patterns of movement, which I wouldn't do usually. So when you're feeling strong, obviously it's easier to maintain proper form or to maintain optimal form when you're doing a lift. No lift is different. When you're fatigued, you'll shift into what your anatomy and what your leverages will prefer for you to do in order to be able to complete the lift, which may or may not be optimal. So it probably won't be optimal for me. So in my instance, my tendency is to, when I do my dip for my jerk, so when I dip down, I tend to shift my weight forwards a bit too much onto my toes, which therefore means that as I'm jumping up into the jerk, when I'm doing that push phase, that explosive triple extension, I'm actually extending slightly forward. So I'm kind of pushing the bar out in front of me a little bit, which therefore means that I'm off balance in the catch, so that when my legs split and I land and I'm taking the weight of that bar with my shoulders and my back, I'm off balance just a little bit. And you'll see that as I get into the next couple of sets here with 100. You see how I missed it there? I missed it forward, so I had to drop it and catch it again. I tried again with 100. This one was again off balance, moving around all over the place. It really wasn't feeling that good. Tried again with the other split. So the split that I would consider my weaker stance is actually slightly better. So when I jump my left foot forward and my right foot back, that for me feels like a lot more of a stable. It doesn't feel as familiar. It doesn't feel like I've ingrained that pattern that much, because all throughout the past when I was doing split jerk, I would always jump my right foot forwards. That always felt more secure for me. But at the moment, the other way around is feeling a lot more secure for me. Another issue I'm also having with the split jerk is also my posterior left shoulder especially. I'm feeling a lot of like stiffness and kind of tightness, even a little bit of soreness in there when I do this jerking movement. I had this in the past when I was doing the weightlifting program. And what's probably causing that is a load intolerance and maybe a form issue. My form starts to maybe change as the weight gets heavier and I try to compensate too much. You can see here versus when I do my warm-up sets. When I do my warm-up sets, I get a lot more internal rotation on both of my shoulders when I'm in that overhead position, but the overhead position when I've got weight above my head, I'm nowhere near as internally rotated at the shoulders, which I think is putting a lot more stress on the rotator cuff, because those muscles, because my shoulder is slightly more externally rotated, then there's going to be more tension on those muscles in the rotator cuff. And it may not even just be the muscles in the rotator cuff. It could be all the muscles around that. Whenever you have pain in a certain area, it's very, very rarely just an isolated incident that is the cause that's causing that. If you're feeling pain in a certain area, the symptoms is that pain, obviously, but there's probably other things going on way further up and down the chain. And just all the time, all throughout the day, I still feel tightness in that area of my shoulder. So the tendency would be to I need to start foam rolling it and start manipulating the specific area where you feel the pain. But really, I think a better solution would be to start addressing if there's any inefficiencies or suboptimal movement patterns that I'm doing in my training, especially with overhead work, that is leading to, or even an imbalance that is leading to problems where that area of my shoulder is having to tolerate more load than it should be able to, or that area of my shoulder doesn't have the work capacity or the strength to be able to tolerate the load that I'm expecting it to tolerate. Otherwise, there wouldn't be pain. If it could tolerate it, there wouldn't be any pain. But I think generally a good way to address pain or any kind of dysfunction isn't necessarily to treat the symptom, it's to obviously treat the cause. And the cause obviously is movement. If you know how to move properly and you improve the quality of your movement for your individual anatomy so that it's functional movement as opposed to dysfunctional movement that leads to proper healthy function of the joints and the systems of the body, then I think generally that does help to reduce pain in the long run because it addresses the root cause as opposed to the symptom of the pain. So whether that is me having to drop the weight again on my split jerk, really sort of knuckle down and focus on the form, because up until this point I've only really been focusing on push press and strict press, and the split jerk, because of the splitting of the legs and the more instability of the movement and the greater speed of the movement, it is a very, very different movement. I talked about this in a video previously a week ago or so. So I think just reasoning wise, I should really start to focus more on learning the form of the split jerk rather than trying to worry about pushing the weight, because there's no point trying to push the weight if I can't do it with an optimal form, or a form that is going to be safe for me to do a decent amount of work capacity and volume with. I don't want to try and push weights and injure my shoulder to the point where it's not able to work out anymore, because that's just silly. That doesn't make any sense to do, and that's not a very long-term mindset when it comes to training. So that's just my thoughts around split jerk. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one.